Over the years, I've had my fun with Six Flags America. Just take me to Six Flags America.
Okay, it's your funeral.
Six Flags America may be closed when you arrive.
That's fine. I'm just gonna go to Six Flags America without you, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
This
All right.
car will self-destruct in 3, 2, 1.
But that doesn't mean I wanted the park to disappear, and that's exactly what last week's announcement says is gonna happen. On November 2nd, Six Flags is closing the park for good, hoping to sell the 500 acres the park sits on. So, after 43 years, this park will be no more. Today, I'm going to share my thoughts on this announcement and talk about where their rides might go, both in the world of reality and fantasy. First question, was this a surprise? Simple answer, no. But this was the worst case scenario. When the merger happened, I figured they'd try and offload some of their smaller parks. Offloading could mean selling it to another chain, selling it to someone independent, or selling it to someone who wants to use the land for something else. It seems like Richard Zimmerman is choosing the last option. He said the park was not a good fit for the company's long-term plan, and marketing the land for redevelopment would give the company the strongest return on investment. This is the ugly side of running a business, taking away something that's sentimental to some people in order to help the bottom line. So, why is this not a surprise? Six Flags already said they wanted to get rid of some of their parks. Six Flags America has not been getting any kind of major investment in recent years, or really in the last 25 years. They did overhaul their SLC and create Steamtown last year. That probably is seen as money down the drain now. Superman Ride of Steel just got brand new trains, but that can be useful if the ride gets moved. Anyway, you also have King's Dominion that isn't far away, and now that's part of the same chain. They really don't need two mid-Atlantic parks. So yeah, maybe Six Flags America was on the larger side of the parks that I thought could be in danger, but it still doesn't surprise me they're trying to get rid of it. I would just urge Richard Zimmerman to tread lightly. The last time Six Flags closed a park to sell the land, it was a disaster. That was Kieran Burke selling Astroworld for about half of what he thought he could get for it, and that was a big reason he lost his job. When Cedar Fair announced the closure of California's Great America, they already had a buyer. It's obvious that's not the case now, as Zimmerman has said he expects a lot of interest in the land. This park has 9 coasters, and I don't think all of them are going to survive this closure. But right now, let's put reality aside and see where these coasters would be the best fit, no matter the circumstance. Let's start small and go big. Great Chase, this is a Pearl Gravity coaster dating back to 1999, so we're really looking for a park that can use a small kids coaster. Most parks already have one, but there are a few that don't. The most obvious one is Six Flags Over Georgia. They just lost their brand new kids coaster, Kid Flash. So, why not replace it with something tried and true, the classic Zamperla Gravity. Next up is Raging Cajun, the Reverchon spinning mouse coaster. This already being relocated once, starting its life at Great America and moving here in 2014. So, will it be sent back to its original home? No, not a chance. This needs to go to a park that doesn't care about bad capacity, and a park that doesn't have a wild mouse coaster or a spinning coaster. This is an easy one. Give it to Frontier City. It has a tiny footprint, and that's good because Frontier City is a tiny park, and we don't have anything close to this, so it would be a big hit. Moving on to Firebird, the original B&M coaster. This also being relocated here from Great America, this time in 2012, and is considered by a lot of people as the worst B&M coaster. So, who would want the worst B&M coaster? I say, send this to LaRonde. They already missed out on getting the world's worst coaster in Green Lantern. That was all set to go up there, and honestly, COVID saved them and the project was scrapped. So, why not follow up by getting the worst B&M? This park also lost our old Intamin stand-up, Cobra. Super Menage was also removed. That was another looper they're missing. So, this small flawless coaster would fit in with that lineup, alongside other B&Ms, Goliath and Vampire. Let's go across the path and talk about Roar, one of GCI's early projects dating back to 1998. I'm not a big fan of this coaster, but with a little TLC, maybe it could be good. We need to find a park that doesn't have a wooden twister. Better yet, if it doesn't have a wooden coaster at all, and doesn't mind getting something that's kinda subpar. I'm giving this to Six Flags Mexico. It may be a slap in the face after losing their tilt coaster, but they only had one wooden coaster in their history and that got RMC'd, and Roar seems like the perfect scale of coaster to fit in a park like this. It's too big for some of the low tier parks, and the upper tier parks wouldn't want anything to do with this. Let's talk about the other wooden coaster, Wild One. This one also relocated back in 1986, originally at Massachusetts Paragon Park, dating back to 1917, making it one of the world's oldest coasters. This is not only a very good ride, it's also a monster. 4,000 feet of track going out and back. You need to find a park that can handle that much track, doesn't have an out and back wooden coaster, and given its quality, I think it could end up at a higher tier park. I'm sending this to Carowinds. It's not that far of a move. They used to have Thunder Road and that was taken out for the water park. They have a lot of space around the parking lot. They could add this and just tear out Hurler, make Wild One their star wooden coaster. The park's one launch coaster is Joker's Jinx, the premier ride's LIM Spaghetti Bowl coaster, and they have the exact same ride at Fiesta Texas, Kings Island, and Kings Dominion, so those are automatically out. This would fit best at a park without a launch coaster, which before this year would have been Six Flags New England. This could have even been a replacement for their two boomerangs, but Quantum Accelerator has that spot now. I think this could have a future at Michigan's Adventure. This park is begging for something new. Last time Cedar Fair closed the park, they got an SLC. Now, they can get something a little better. This launched looping coaster that has some crazy head choppers, and is actually surprisingly intense. Michigan's Adventure doesn't have a lot of inversions, and this would add a lot to their lineup. Let's go into Steamtown and ride Professor Screamore Skywinder, just getting a new theme, new paint, and a new train. It's just too bad the track is still a dumpster fire. If someone does get this coaster, it'd be great to get a full retrack, but honestly, at that point, might as well get a brand new coaster and not bother relocating this one. That being said, this is a fantasy, and there is one park that desperately needs a looping coaster that hangs under the track, Valley Fair. For years, we've been saying how great a B&M invert would be here, and what's the next best thing to a B&M invert? A Vekoma SLC. This one's going to be available, so why not ship it up north? They have one coaster that goes upside down, Corkscrew, and one that hangs under the track, Steel Venom. So, as sad as it is, this would actually fit in that lineup very nicely. Now, onto their big two, starting with the only remaining Vekoma Flying Dutchman, Batwing. These flying coasters are very good, but they can be maintenance and capacity nightmares, so you need to give this to a park that doesn't mind a bad throughput. After all, this was the very reason Stealth got moved to Carowinds. Paramount wanted it at a park that had less foot traffic. For this reason, I'm not sending it to Kings Island. They got their Flying Dutchman when Geauga Lake closed, but they're not getting this one. I'm sending this to Dorney Park. They don't have anything resembling a flying coaster. I don't think this park gets all that crowded. This is as good of a landing spot as I can think of. Worlds of Fun could also use it for pretty much all the same reasons. Finally, the big prize, Superman Ride of Steel. This wasn't relocated, but it is a clone. So you'd think if a park had a nice big L-shaped space to fill, this could do it. This Intamin Mega Coaster stands over 200 feet tall, has over a mile of track, so whoever gets it will need space. We need to find a park that isn't tiny and can handle a hyper that doesn't already have a hyper. Fiesta Texas is one option, but I don't know how that would fit into that park. Michigan's Adventure is a great option, but I'm sending this to Six Flags St. Louis. This park is built on the side of a hill, but they could put this in their parking lot. Because it's skinny, it wouldn't take up that much space. This park could use a hyper in the worst way. Apparently, during the coaster explosion in 1999, they were in the cards to get one. It just didn't work out, so this seems like the perfect spot for it. There's my fantasy picks. Now, let's settle into bitter reality. I can see 4 of these coasters for sure going to the dump, starting with Batwing. It's obvious these Flying Dutchmen are on their way out. Firehawk closed in 2007, Nighthawk closed this year, so Batwing is flush with spare parts, and for that, I think it had a decent future at Six Flags America. But will they tear it down and rebuild it just for a few more years of service? I don't think so. Joker's Jinx is another coaster I don't see being moved. There are rumors about the Flight of Fear coasters being done, same with Mr. Freeze. So if they're thinking about phasing out these LIM launch coasters that are at least 25 years old, it doesn't seem like they'll move Joker's Jinx. They'll probably scrap it and use the spare parts for Poltergeist. I also think Roar is done. Anytime you have a wooden coaster, it's probably not being moved. At least not anymore. Parks used to do this a lot, but it's not really in practice anymore. I mean, Cedar Fair didn't even move Villain when Geauga Lake closed. That was a new wooden coaster with a steel structure. It seems like if any wooden coaster would have been moved, it would have been that one. So what chance does Roar have? This means the end of Wild One also, and that one's sad. A great wooden coaster is 108 years old, an ace coaster landmark. It would be insane for them to move it again and reopen it in one of their parks. That being said, it is possible for another park to buy it and rebuild it. Maybe Knoebels takes a crack at it, or maybe Gene Staples, so look out for that. The other 5 coasters I think have a shot at relocation, and we'll start with my low confidence picks and work my way up to the high confidence picks. Firebird is 35 years old, and it could very well be torn down like Green Lantern was, but I can't see a scenario where it finds a new home. After all, it was only 13 years ago when it got moved here, so why not? If it does get moved, I think it finds its way over to Worlds of Fun. It would be a smaller park. I chose a run in my fantasy draft, but Worlds of Fun could also use another B&M looper, and the chain seems slightly more interested in this park than it does La Ronde. Great Chase is an old kiddie coaster, but it has the benefit of having a small footprint. I said this would be great at Six Flags Over Georgia, and I think that's the most likely landing spot. Like I said, you need to find a park that could use a small kids coaster, and Over Georgia never had one before Kid Flash. And because of Skyline, they still don't have one, so Great Chase makes so much sense here. This may get scrapped also, but I have medium confidence this will find a new home. I also have medium confidence in Professor Screamboard Skywinder getting moved, especially after its overhaul last year, and assuming it doesn't get a full retrack, I feel sorry for whoever ends up with this. I said Valleyfair in my fantasy draft, but I can see this going to Great Escape also. It kinda seems like when Valleyfair eventually gets a coaster, it'll be a new coaster, and Great Escape is more likely to get something secondhand. They have nothing under the track, just an arrow loop screw and Vekoma Boomerang when it comes to inversions. This would become one of their star coasters right away. Superman Ride of Steel might also find a new home. I have medium confidence in this one. I could totally see a world where this is torn apart for scrap, and its parts are used to help Ride of Steel at Darien Lake, and I can also see them uprooting this and finding a big plot of land where this will fit. I just keep thinking back to Michigan's Adventure almost getting a Morgan Hyper back in 1999, and St. Louis almost getting a Hyper around the same time, and it's a coin toss between these two parks. If I had to choose, I would say Michigan's Adventure. It seems like that landscape is way more friendly to handle a coaster like this. There's only one coaster I have high confidence in being moved, and that's Raging Cajun. Tiny footprint, very portable. I would be very surprised if this ended up getting scrapped. I still think this needs a park that doesn't get too crowded, and although I would love to see this at Frontier City like I had in my fantasy draft, I think this is going to Darien Lake. It's definitely one of their lesser parks, but it's just a step up from Frontier City, and more likely to get a relocated coaster like this. So here's my final rundown of their 9 coasters. Fantasy picks on the left, reality picks on the right. But let me know what you think. Not just about where these coasters are going to go, but about Six Flags deciding to shut this park down. Are you mad? Do you get it? Do you think it's a bonehead move? I want to hear your thoughts down below. Before you go, don't forget to drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. I want to thank my Patreons. If you want bonus access, bonus content, and have your name listed at the end of each video, check my links below and join. Also, check out my second channel, where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.